How to get more sales using emotional intelligence and compassion and no overcoming objections. So let me guess. Every coach that you've ever hired or sales expert you looked at online has told you that you have to overcome objections, or you've got to destroy them, or you've got to come up with some way to not have them, right? And if you've been taught these pressure tactics, they don't feel good to you. Like, they're not aligned for most female entrepreneurs. They're especially not aligned for those of us that are conscious or spiritual entrepreneurs, for whom our business is about more than just creating wealth. It's also about being a part of our service in this lifetime. It's part of our soul's purpose, right? So if you've been taught to sell this way and you're frustrated because you don't like your sales process, it's the least favorite part of your business, I'm going to show you how you can sell in a way that feels more aligned. First off, you got to understand objections are not obstacles to bulldoze through. They're concerns that are given by someone who is thinking about working with you, and they just need some support in making the decision. And that does not mean forcing them to make a yes. I'm Heather, and I'm showing you the compassionate objection handling method that gets more yeses, prevents buyer's remorse and chargebacks and drama, and keeps you from feeling like a manipulative ass, so that you can actually go into your sales calls and feel a lot more confident and comfortable and get more yeses. Okay. First thing you have to understand is that objections aren't rejections. They're not even objections. They're actually somebody sharing a concern. And this is what most sales trainees get completely wrong. They teach you to overcome objections like you're in a battle. They use words like overcome, handle, crush, destroy, manage, all this aggressive language that makes you feel gross and turns your sales calls into combat. Okay, there's a totally different way to do this. Here's the truth. When someone objects after you pitch, they are not rejecting you. They are not rejecting your offer. They are voicing a concern. Unless they say, no, I don't want this, they're just voicing a concern. And concerns deserve compassion and emotional intelligence, not pressure tactics. Think about it. If your best friend came to you and said, I really want to start a business, but I'm scared I don't have enough money, would you gaslight them? Would you shame them? Would you try to pressure them into a decision? Hell no. And if you would, then just get off my channel. We're not aligned. Of course, you wouldn't do that. You'd help them figure out how much of their concern is real and how much of it is just fear. Okay. So that's exactly what an ethical objection handling is. It's being a compassionate guide who helps your potential clients sort through their concerns. And here's what happens when you don't do this. When you use those manipulative objection crushing tactics, you wind up with unqualified clients who don't get great results. They don't give you good testimonials that you can use in your marketing to help you convert more quickly. They may charge back, and they can even create legal issues or damage your reputation. So this is why I don't encourage you. Those are like the practical reasons, like beyond the ethical. Those are the practical reasons why I say don't overcome objections. It's a really bad idea for your business. And what I teach is not to try to avoid objections or to be freaked out about them. They're really just they're just like a really super common part of the sales conversation. They're nothing to be scared of. They're nothing to get hostile over. It's actually the part of the sales conversation where shit gets real. Okay. So this helped me tremendously when I realized this. So you want to think of an objection is almost like you're stepping into a hostage negotiation situation. And it's not about you trying to force anything. It's just you understanding psychologically what's going on. So here's my framework. And I want you to think of yourself as a hostage negotiator between the two parts of your potential clients. Part one is their highest human self. And that's the part that wants to grow, wants to change, wants to invest in themselves. This is the part that booked a call with you and showed up on time and engaged in the first half of your conversation. This part is excited and ready for change. Part two is the scared part of them that is keeping them stuck. This is the part that speaks up after you pitch and says things like, I need to think about it, or I don't have the money, or I need to talk to my partner, right? These are three of the most common objections. Your job isn't to overcome part two, right? Your job is to compassionately help both parts to communicate with each other so that your potential client can make an aligned decision. But here's the reality. Most objections are a combination of fears, limiting beliefs, and real life restrictions on time, money, or other circumstances, right? It's very different. Most people will teach you that there are always only fears, and that's not true. It's usually a combination. It's your job as the seller to compassionately support the potential buyer in figuring out how much is fear, how much is real, and does it actually make sense for them to move forward? And you might even do this is the only part of the sales conversation that you do any coaching with during at all, right? You do a little coaching with them around, okay, what can you do to find more time, for instance, okay? But here's what this looks like in practice. When someone says, I can't afford it, instead of launching into a scarcity pitch about how they can't afford not to invest, or that this offer is only going to be available for 6 more seconds, or whatever bro marketing boss babe nonsense you've been taught in the past, say something like, I hear you. let me ask, when you say you can't afford it, is it the money genuinely isn't available right now? Or is it that investing this amount feels scary, even though the money exists, right? The question does something powerful. It invites them to examine their own objection with curiosity instead of defense, right? As soon as you start with the shaming, blaming, high pressure tactics, people go into a defense and it does become combat, which is not the vibe. If you're a healer or a coach or even a service provider, like you don't want to go into a relationship with a new client in a combative way. It's just not helpful. Here's the magic. Sometimes they'll realize that it's just fear and they do want to move forward. Sometimes they'll realize the money genuinely isn't there and it's not the right time, right? And that can be frustrating because you didn't get the sale, but you also didn't end up working with somebody who is going to be so stressed about the financial aspect that they're not going to be able to do the work. They're going to be so in anxiety that they can't get stuff done, right? That kind of fear and anxiety is not a good motivator. It's not good for results. So both of those answers, whether they decide to move forward or not, are valid and they keep you in integrity, okay? And let's say the person, they're just like, it's not the right time. I don't have enough time. Or maybe it's a money issue, right? If you push them and they say no, they're probably not going to come back. And any follow-ups that you do with them are going to be really awkward. And by the way, for all the pressure to make the sale on the call, 80% of all sales are made in follow-ups. They're not made actually on the call. And there's ways to do that without being weird or having it drag on forever or being pushy or, whatever. But don't be afraid of somebody not saying yes on the call. It's okay. It's okay. And the more chill you are about that, the more likely they are to buy in the near future. All right, so let me give you another example. When someone says, I need to think about it, instead of pressuring them with false urgency, like, well, if you buy on the call, it's $5,000 less, or, any of that kind of stuff, which, by the way, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, hates that kind of stuff, and it can get you in hot water. So be careful about what kind of fast action bonuses that you use. But instead of pressuring them, if they say, like, I need to think about it, you can say, absolutely, like, this is a big decision, right? So you're acknowledging, like, this is a lot of money. This is a big commitment to make this change or to invest in their business for bookkeeping or a website or whatever. You can ask, can I ask, what specifically do you need to think through? Is it whether the program is right for you, or is it more about the logistics of making it work, right? So again, you're not shaming them, you're not pressuring them, you're just trying to help them get clear on what it is. And you're trying to get clear because maybe they're going to raise something that, a concern. And you're like, oh, I'm really glad that we found that out, because people that, have that particular situation, my stuff just tends not to work for, right? And you dodged a bullet, they dodged a bullet, right? So again, you're helping them identify what's actually happening. And they'll often say something like, I guess I'm scared it won't work for me. And now you can address the real concern instead of the surface objection, right? So it's another reason why you don't want to go into this as a battle, because there's usually stuff underneath, right? And especially if you're a coach or a healer, the more you're demonstrating that you're a good listener and that you are helping them get to those like root issues. And even as a service provider, right? If you like, this is a diagnostic call, right? You want to be able to help them. You got to really know what's going on or you can't help them, right? So if you're immediately launching into these antagonistic, things and addressing whatever surface level thing has come up, then you're not really getting to the deeper issues. This is one of the reasons why this way of handling objections, navigating objections, is more likely to result in a sale, even if it doesn't result in a sale like actually on the call. Okay, the integrity payoff. Why this gets more sales. Now you might be thinking, wait, Heather, if I give them permission to say no, won't I lose the sale? And actually the opposite happens. And here's why. And I've talked a little bit about this already. First, when you handle objections with emotional intelligence and compassion, people feel safe with you, and safe people buy. 10 years ago in the coaching industry, in the online world, if you were using the overcoming objections, it worked a lot better. But a lot of people have been burned by those types of tactics. They bought things that didn't work for them, and they're very wary of anybody who uses pressure. So in 2025, overcoming objections, being pushy, shaming people is not going to work nearly as well. Even if you could stomach it, it's not going to work as well as it did 10 years ago. But people, once they feel safe and it really is a good fit, then they're much less likely. They're not going to charge back. They're not going to ghost you halfway through your program, and they will give you incredible testimonials because they feel genuinely supported and it really was the right fit for them to get the results that they wanted. So second, if you pressure someone past a real objection, you wind up with unqualified client who doesn't get real great results. They don't give you case studies that you can use, and they might even create legal issues or damage your reputation. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I have seen coaches spend more time managing one wrong fit client than serving 5 ideal clients. This is not a business model. It is a nightmare. And it will affect your marketing. It will affect your sales. It will affect how you show up for your other clients. It will affect you in your personal life. It can fuck up your health. Like, don't sell to people who aren't aligned. Third, and this is the part nobody talks about, you get to keep your self-respect, right? So if you are somebody who is you're in business for the right reasons, like, yes, you want to create wealth, you want to create your dream life, but you're only only going to do that if you can do that and be in real service to people, then keeping your self-respect is really, really important. You need to go to bed at night knowing that you didn't manipulate anybody. And that means that you can show up on your sales calls without that gross, pushy energy that repels the exact kind of clients that you actually want to attract. Handling objections with emotional intelligence will get you more sales. It will keep you from hating yourself and keep you from hating sales, and it will save you from unaligned clients that make your life a mess. This is really important stuff, guys or ladies. This isn't just ethical, it's strategic. It's selling in this way, in the other components of my ethical sales framework, Alliance sales framework. It's going to help you to have a more sustainable business. You're going to get more repeat clients. You're going to get more case studies and testimonials for faster conversions from your cold leads. You're going to get more referrals. It's just the way to go, right? Okay. So how do you actually implement this? Here's your practice plan. I want you to write down the top 3 objections that you hear most often. The top 4 that most coaches and healers, service providers hear are around money, time, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need to think about it, right? All these are perfectly legitimate things, right? But think about the top 3 that you hear the most often. And for each objection, concern, I want you to write a curious question that helps them examine what's really going on. This is not a rebuttal. It is not a counter argument. It is a genuine question. And I've shared a couple. I'm going to repeat them here. If they say, I can't afford it. When you say you can't afford it, is the money genuinely not available, or does investing this amount feel scary even though it exists? And I'll give you a quick example. So one of the few coaches that I had that actually taught sales in a stomachable way and was actually good at teaching sales talked about being on a call with someone, and I think her program was 5K, and the woman said, I don't have the money, I can't afford it. And so she just used this gentle inquiry and the curiosity and asked permission to explore it, right? And it turns out that the woman had several uncashed checks from a job that she had done that would more than pay for the program. But the problem was she didn't feel worthy of the check she had gotten, so she hadn't cashed them yet, right? But she had the money right there, even though she was saying that she couldn't afford it. So this is why it's very common for spiritual conscious entrepreneurs to just cut and run as soon as somebody says that they don't have the money. This is why you don't want to do that. And this is why you also don't want to go into shaming and blaming and all that high pressure stuff, right? You want to have emotional intelligence and compassion. If somebody says, I need to think about it, what specifically do you need to think through? Whether the program is right for you or the logistics of making it work, right? A lot of times when people use this objection, when they voice this concern, it's because there's a question, like their subconscious is telling them that there's a question that hasn't been answered yet. And when you ask them, you can say, sometimes when people say this, it's because there's a question that hasn't been answered. Is there anything else you'd like to ask me? Okay, so that opens that up right there. And I absolutely encourage you to leave space. Ooh, my food's ready. To leave space for people to ask questions, because it shows confidence. You're not just trying to control the conversation and force a yes. If they say, I need to talk to my partner, you can say, of course, what concerns do you think your partner will have that I can go ahead and address for you right now so that you're prepared to go into the conversation? So step 3, practice saying these out loud. Record yourself on your phone. You need to hear yourself asking with genuine curiosity and not with a fake salesy tone that is just going to make these people uncomfortable. Step 4, on your next sales call, just try one of these, just one. And notice what happens when you leave with curiosity instead of pressure. I promise you will be shocked at how much more honest the conversation becomes and how much easier it is to guide them to the right decision. And actually, I don't like the way that I said that. How much easier it is for them to feel supported in coming to their own decision, because that's what it's about. It's not about convincing. It's not about subtly persuading them. I don't even like the word persuade or the concept of persuasion. It's about really helping them get a 360 degrees, view of the situation so that they can make the best decision for them and for you. Okay, so if you're watching this and thinking, okay, Heather, I get the philosophy, but I need the full framework for ethical sales conversations from start to finish, I've got you covered. I have a free quiz called Find Your Aligned as Fuck Sales Style that will show you exactly which sales approach matches your personality and values, because there is no one size fits all. This is not about what works for me. It's not about what works for your best friend who's also an entrepreneur. It's not about what works for Tony Robbins. It is about what will work for you. So you can take the quiz. It will take you about 2 minutes to get the quiz, and you will get personalized sales style. And then I can give you some more personalized feedback, because I want you to be able to sell in a way that you feel confident and comfortable selling with, because that's how you're going to get the most sales and that's how you're going to change the most lives. And if this video helped you see objections differently, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of this series on aligned ethical sales for coaches. I'll see you in the next one.